Hey y'all, welcome to Shade in the City. It's your girl Treese here. And of course, we're here to do what? Get into Beyond the Gates, because that's what we do over here. All right. This is season 1, episode 154. So this would have been Monday's episode. I apologize, guys, for being late, but your girl has actually been in the office this week, and you know, life flows a little bit differently when I gotta actually get on the highway, go down the road, even though my job ain't far. It's just things change when I actually have to get up and go somewhere. Okay. So I appreciate your patience. All my Shade Squad and all my new viewers, if you haven't already, please go ahead, do me a favor, and hit that like button for me. And if you're liking the vibe, please go ahead and subscribe. So let's go ahead and get into this recap of episode 154. And let's get shady.
Lights drip on the skyline paint. Shade in the city, true hit like a banger. I said it, I meant it, no need for disclaimers. Haters right away, but they just false claimers. Concrete beats are heavy like cinder. Looking for one, but the streets feel winter. No filters, no edits, I'm raw with my splinters. My life a movie, they watching the trailer. Said it is sick, I'm not gonna hold you. Shade in the city, the life in the mood. You like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe. This is my word, I just let you inside. Said it, city, I'm not gonna hold you. Shade in the city, my words gon' console you. Like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe.
We start this episode, we see Laura bringing in. So, hey, Laura, it's been a while. Okay. So we see Laura bringing in a floral arrangement for Nicole. And she's wondering, well, who is this from? Okay. And so Mona was like, well, it could be one of the scholarship participants trying to impress Nicole. And so that's when Nicole comes in and she's like, oh, what y'all talking about? And so that's what Mona said, girl, you got some flowers. You need to go check that out. Maybe it might be for one of the scholarship participants, or it could be Carlton. So Nicole said, girl, I know it's not Carlton. And she opens up the card and then she just hands it to Mona. And Mona's smiling from ear to ear. She's like, ooh, girl. Ooh. And so that's when we learned that they came from Ted and he's thanking Nicole for last night. And so then we see Mona getting all in Nicole's business, right? Asking, well, what happened last night that made Ted give you flowers? And she was like, oh, so does this mean that you're ready to work through things with Ted? Nicole is trying to, attempting to change the subject from her and Ted, obviously, right? Laura can't help but, keep prying and says, well, I really hope that you and Ted get back together because, your relationship is like relationship goals. Okay. And Nicole tells her, that's sweet, but you don't need to be idolizing my relationship nor anyone else's. So then Mona sends Laura to get tea and she has a one-on-one with Nicole because she said, this grown folks business. Okay. And she said, look, you ain't got to tell us. All right. But I will let you know that if you want to talk, I'm here. Nicole thanks her for her friendship and, discretion, but says that, I don't know how to put into words what happened last night. So she's in a daze, and Mona, is continuing to question her. So then we see a flashback where she has a little moment with Ted where the fire alarm went off. And she says that, she's actually grateful that it did because it stopped her from doing something that she might have regretted. So Vernon's on the phone telling somebody that he was trying to get somewhere, but something came up and he said, I'm going to try to get there later. So Anita walks into the room and hears him whispering. And he notices that she's in the room. So Anita said, oh, who couldn't you wait to see? Question. Vernon tells Anita that, I was just on the phone canceling my golf plans since, you told me we were having guests over for brunch. And Vernon said, and so Vernon says, so when should we expect our guests to arrive? And Anita said, well, I'm calling them now. If I was Vernon, I'd be pissed. And let me tell y'all something, a little sidebar. My boo is an avid golfer. If y'all ever hear me make golf references, chess references, it's because I have a man that is a chess and a golfer. I'm very attracted to that. Love it. Right? I know a lot about it. Do you know how upset this mofo would have been if I would have had him cancel a tea time and I didn't have solidified plans? Oh, Jesus. And if for all my golfers out there, I think that's just downright damn disrespectful. Okay? Danny and Andre are over at the country club having breakfast. Apparently, they just finished playing a game of golf. So Andre notices Leslie walk in and he warns Danny, don't turn around. Uh-oh. Don't do it. And so Danny turns around and she realizes, oh, it's Fairmont Crest home wrecking thought. Okay. Or so Danny literally had smoke coming out of her ears at Leslie's audacity to be at her family's country club. And Leslie over there with her, Diddy Bop, and she, in the club. So Andre said, well, your families are members of the country club, but they don't own it. Then Danny said, do you see? I know you see it. I know you see it. But yeah, Danny said, I know you see my relative's picture on the wall. You want to try playing with me? So Andre said, look, just remain calm. And he said, don't worry about me. I am Vernon and Anita Dupree's child. And I refuse to embarrass my family anymore. But Danny's like, something right. She had to do something just horrendous because the way she over there just, you know what I'm saying? Snapping her fingers, doing her stare. He was like, somebody need to wipe the smile off her face for Nicole and every other woman who's had to deal with a low-class hood rat who couldn't keep her legs closed to married men. And I said, not you giving a Nene read, not you giving a Nene Leaks read. So, and so Danny said, back to hell with decorum. So she gets up to confront Leslie when she gets a call from Anita telling her, bring your ass over to this house. It's not an option. And so Danny said, look, we've been summoned. Even though we grown as hell, I'm still my parents' child. All right. We move on to Ted down at Offrey Jeans. He's daydreaming about Nicole coming by the night before when Eva walks in and notices that he's looking a little happier than normal. So Ted admits that, yeah, I am a little happier. And so she's like, well, why? So he's like, well, why are you down here so early? Ain't you supposed to be at work for me? And she was like, well, see, so know what had happened. And so she was like, no, I was here to get some coffee because, I thought that maybe you might need a pick-me-up. And so Ted was like, well, why would you think that? And so Eva was like, well, Mama told me that you got your divorce decree yesterday. And he was like, yeah, and that was jumping up and down. Jump around. Hey, jump up and get down. That's what she was doing. And Eva was like, yeah, she was. Yeah. Okay. But she said, I was really hoping that you and Nicole would work things out. And Ted said, well, hope springs eternal. So Eva asked Ted, how did you go from the Heartbreak Hotel? Heartbreak Hotel. How you go from that to the couldn't we be happily ever after? How did we go? We jumped? I don't understand. Ted flashes back to Nicole showing up at his room. And so Eva said, I know your marriage is none of my business, especially since me and my mama were, responsible for messing it up. And Ted said, well, no, that's not true. He said, it's not your fault. Or pick six, your mama. All right. And I was here for it. We see Ted finally take full accountability for his bullshit. Okay. And so then they have I guess what you could call like a cute little father-daughter bonding moment. And he tells her that, look, I'm just happy I got somebody to check on me. So when I was on Twitter, a lot of people felt like Ted was telling too much of his business to Eva. And I know when I was in Sky Spaces earlier today, she did like a real impromptu joint after today's episode, which I thought was really dope. Thank you, Sky, for having me. And if y'all missed it, it's on my timeline on Twitter. You can go find it. It's recorded. So you can go back and listen to it. We had a good time. But I think all of us kind of felt like, why are you talking? Why are you giving her so much of your business? But then we realized, oh, he ain't got nobody else to talk to. So Eva was like, well, why are your hopes all up? And so Ted explains that, oh, I went to Smitty and Martin's vow renewal. So then we see Eva looking disappointed to learn that she wasn't invited. So Ted was like, it was Smitty that sent out the invites. And I said, yeah, because Smitty said, we don't love them hoes. Not in my house. If you want to do that over there, but not over here. I don't care what your daddy want. It's my house and I live here. I want to tell you. Y'all know that's one of my favorite Diana songs. Okay. Ted starts to explain how Nicole was moved seeing Smitty and Martin reconnect. He thinks that it made her think of their situation. So Eva burst Ted's bubble and said, just because Nicole was in her feelings at a wedding doesn't mean she wants to remarry you. And so Ted said, well, why did she show up at my hotel suite last night? And I said, and Ted, why are you telling your child all your business? I don't think she really needed to know that. I can understand you talking some stuff about Leslie to her, but why are you talking about Nicole to Eva? It still don't make sense to me. I understand he ain't got nobody to, cause he's lonely, broken hearted, life's not over, I can start again. So then Andre and Danny show up at the Dupree's, and Danny lets her mama know that, this felt a little forced. And so Anita confirms, well, yeah, you didn't have a choice. Vernon tells him, we called y'all over here to have a conversation about the state of your union. So Danny was like, what do you want to discuss about our marriage? And Vernon says, the fact that you're continuing it, that's what. So Danny starts to fire back at her parents and let them know, I'm grown with 2 grown children and I can make my own decisions. And I've been doing that since I was 17. And Anita said, look, you know what? I just need clarity because we love and we care about you. So Vernon decides that we're going to divide and conquer. So he takes Andre into the foyer so Anita and Danny can catch up. And so Vernon tells Andre, we need to get reacquainted, although he'd been there before. And Vernon said, and Danny points that out and was like, we've known his man his whole life. And he's been here with me. So I'm confused. You remember the whole Chelsea situation? He was here. He was my support. And Vernon said, nah, but that's different now. And so are the conversations now that he's your husband. And I said, well, Daddy said what he said. We see Ted and Eva, and he done told her all his business, which I still don't understand. Eva is in disbelief that Ted and Nicole let a fire alarm keep them from falling in each other's arms. Then she has a flashback to the conversation with Leslie, excited about Ted's divorce. Then Eva conveniently remembers, oh, I got something to do, when she runs off. Back at Nicole's, Mona can't believe that Nicole sees this fire alarm as a sign and tells her, to really look at it as a test to see how hard she would fight for her marriage. And Nicole says, it don't make any sense because my marriage is already ended. So Mona tells her, have you already forgotten your vows? And she reminds her that what God has joined together, let no man or woman named Leslie Thomas put us. Okay. She asked Nicole, you sure you can't move past Ted's indiscretions? And so Nicole reminds her it wasn't just one indiscretion, sweetheart. It was years of lying about that indiscretion and a whole side baby. Mona said, yeah, I do feel guilty about bringing Leslie on y'all doorstep, but forgiveness. And so Nicole breaks the news. Look, ain't no forgiveness here because Ted done slept with her again. So that was enough of a sign for me to know I ain't going back. And so Laura returns from the kitchen. Nicole said, good, both y'all have to get out my business and go back to work. We see basically this, I guess you can call it conversation between Anita and Danny and Vernon and Andre. And Andre is like, look, I respectfully, your daughter's grown. We're both grown. And the same thing that I told you when I saw you down in Orphe Jeans and what my intentions were, they remain the same. Nothing has changed. So Anita is grilling Danny, and Danny is trying to explain that, look, I'm trying to finally close that bill chapter, and Andre is helping me do that. And I'm ready to move forward. And Anita was like, well, do you love him? And she was like, well, you know what? I don't need to love him like I loved Bill. What we got is enough. Okay. And I think it can grow into something. But right now, I love him as a friend, a partner, and somebody to laugh and share my house with. And hey, who knows what can happen? And so, of course, Anita and Vernon are not happy with their responses, but they realize ain't nothing they can do because they're grown. And so they end up toasting. And y'all know that was a lot longer, but I made it a lot shorter for y'all. Okay. You're welcome. We see Eva run down to the country club, and she snatches the headphones off Leslie and tells her that, look, I know it was you that pulled that fire alarm, and she all loud. So Leslie's pretending like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Eva basically reads her whole plot. Work like, yeah, you did this, and then you did this, and then you did this, and this. And I was like, damn, girl, you good. You know your mama. That's why I don't like when you play stupid. Okay. So Leslie eventually said, yeah, I did. And I do it again. And said, and I ain't the least bit sorry, but not sorry. Okay. So Eva tries to make Leslie see the harm that she could have caused by pulling that fire alarm. And Leslie tells her, bitch, first of all, keep your voice down. Okay. Because I still got my belt. Second, I had to keep Nicole from sticking her claws back into my man. So Eva said, Are you really that delusional? And Leslie checked her real quick and says, I'm not delusional. I'm determined. I said, "Ooh." So Eva said, when is enough enough? And Leslie said, when Ted is back in my bed, where he rightfully belongs. And I said, Lord, child. So Nicole gets a text from Ted asking her to come down to Orphe Jeans. And so, in the midst, Mona and Laura are just like, "Ooh, why did she rush off? Where did she go?" And they just hopeful that they can work things out. So she gets down there, and he asked her, "Did you like the flowers? Because did you recognize them? And she's like, "Yeah, nigga, that used to be our makeup arrangement when you used to do some shit. You would send me some, and yeah, you got good taste and stuff, and thanks. It was cool." So he tries to talk to Nicole about rekindling this marriage and how he thought they were going somewhere until that fire alarm went off. And Nicole admits, yeah, I probably would have been in your bed. And she said, but although I love you, sometimes love is just not enough. I said, "Ooh, you better give a word, girl." And so Ted is confused and he was like, "I thought you came over to here forgive me." And Nicole said, "I do forgive you for myself, but I can't forget the betrayal. And I hope that one day we can be friends." I said, "Ted, pick your chin up off the ground." And so she said, "Baby, our marriage," she says, "our marriage, that chapter is closed for good." Okay. And yeah, she gives him a hug before walking out and chunking up the deuces. If you have not already, please do me a big favor. Go ahead, hit that like button. Make sure that you guys comment. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you're following us on all the platforms. It's TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, IG, Blue Sky, and the Lemonade. And yeah, have a good night.